Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now this Musaf that I have, it did not put that number 1 after Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, which tells me the Bismillahirrahmanirrahim is the beginning, but it's not the part of Surah Baqarah. Alif Lam Mim. These are called huruf muqattiyat. Huruf is the plural form of harf. I made so many notes. What happened to those colors there? Now we see that we made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is Surah Fatiha. We put a seed. Now the tree has come up. And the first branch of the tree is so comprehensive. This is Surah Fatiha. And we don't know actually what are the meanings of Alif Lam Mim. Lots of ulama has made a lot of explanation about that, but none of them fits very good in this thing. Some have said Alif means this and Alif means that, But in this time, Maulana Hamiduddin Farahi Rahmatullah alayhi, he wrote a Tafseer also. And he said something about huruf muqattiyat, which just touched my heart, and I will share it with you. He says that Alif, in old Hebrew language and Chaldeanish language, in old language, Alif not as an Alif, but Alif as a straight line, but in those days they used to write it like that, like this and that. That means cow. And when I checked it in some of the old scripture, and it was right. When you write Alif, I keep it here. They write it like that. Alif, old Alif is like this. And if you look at it, it looks like the cow's head. So he said because there is cow is mentioned in Baqarah, Surah Baqarah, cow has been mentioned. So that's why Alif is that cow. Wallahu alam. He gave more examples also. Like in Hebrew, I again and again, I use this word Hebrew in Ibrani language. Ba, we call it be, ba, ba. It's the same way we write it. We write it like that. Like this. In Hebrew they write it like the same way. But they call it bait. Bait. In Arabic and in Hebrew, bait means home. It's exactly what it means, home. They also write jim the way we write jim. But they don't call it jim, they call it jamal. Jamal is the same thing, camel. When it came into Arabic, it became jamal. It's a very big fight. The jamal, the fight of camel. Jamal went to, became in English, became camel, but it's jamal. Same thing, noon. In old languages, noon means fish. If you look at the noon, it means when you take a fish, because I'm a fisherman, I go fishing. When you catch a fish and you leave it out and it gets dry, it kind of curls like that. And there's a dot, a nukta in it, and that's the eye of that. So noon is pretty much like fish. That's why Surah Noon, it says Syed Bukhari, they call Yunus alayhi salam the one of the fish. So he says, Maulana Hamiduddin Farahi says the noon means in Hebrew, and when it came into that, what it means. It's the name of the surah. And the same thing is toy. Toy in old Hebrew and old Chaldeanish language is used for snake. When snake sits curved, it looks like it's curved and then it's like that. So that becomes like a toy. It sits like this, curves down, and then it's just like that, and if you look at it, it looks like toy. No. So these are the words. He says because Surah Taha, right when it starts, it talks about Musa alayhi salam, how his stick became a snake. The same thing he writes Surah Ta'asim, and there also the stick of Musa alayhi salam. So Wallahu alam, and he also says that in Chinese language, some of the alphabets are on the name of some of the animals, and that clicked me when I used to live in Taiwan. Somebody taught me a little bit of Chinese language. So what happens in Chinese, when they write one, this is one. When they write two, two. When they write three, this is their three. So he said, because, and then I cannot make it right. They make a picture of a horse, and it's a word of alphabet, letter of alphabet, and also stands for horse. And when they make it like this, if you see, it's like a man with his hand up. This is mean a man in Chinese language. But then there is a word of alphabet which is square like that. That means house, back. So he said, if we go and research that, we might be able to find some of the explanation about huruf al-muqatta'at. Wallahu alam, I don't know that, but I just explained it to you like that. Then it says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Now, since there is a mu'anika there, we can read it two ways. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ. This is the book. Now, in Arabic grammar, there are different branches. One is Nahav, one is Sarf. And the expert people of Nahav, they usually say, Zalik comes in for the things far away. Zalik al-Kitab, that book. Hazal Kitab, this book. But this is not right, because what happens is, when somebody is talking, and the muhatab, the one that's being addressed, he knows that thing already. So the one who's talking to him, he will say Zalik. In Quran, I think that word is also used in Surah, that Surah we read on Friday, Surah Kahf, Zalik. And that's in Quran, 3-4 places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Zalik. Okay, this is that way. So Zalik means we know already, we know about the book because we asked it dua, and we are talking about, so it says Zalik al-Kitab. Now you ask for Hidayah. I'm giving you Hidayah now. What the dua we made, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, oh Allah, put us on the straight path. So Allah is putting us on the straight path. Zalik al-Kitab la rayb. This is the book, there is no doubt in it. Okay. The thing is, nobody ever doubted, not even Mushrikeen in Makkah or Kuffar ever doubted the book. Mushrikeen in Makkah, they were very good poets. They knew the language, they were Ahl al-Zuban. They never said, what kind of book is that? What kind of words are this? Alif Lam Mim, Tasim, Ain Sin, Kaf, Alif Lam Ra. They never objected on that. So obviously they knew about this thing. They knew this style. They only made shak, read the doubt about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who's this Allah? Where did you bring it from? Oh, these are Asatir al-Awwalin. These are the written things from time ago. And this is somebody named Rahman. He teaches it to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the doubt was never on the book. Doubt was about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Zalik al-Kitabu la rayb. This is the book. There is no doubt in it. Fihi hudal lil muttaqin. In it, hudal, there is hidayah. Lil muttaqin. For the ones who are muttaqin. Now, who are muttaqins? That's the big question. This is the word that I think we have done a lot of injustice with it. Most of the books that do the translation, they translate it as a fear. And whenever there is a fear, Quran uses the word khawf. When Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to throw his staff, he threw it and became a big snake. He ran. And Allah said, Ya Musa la takhaf, don't get afraid. So khawf is for fear. Taqwa is where there is both a combination of khawf and the combination of hope. And I'll give you a very good example for that. Abu Bakr Siddiq Raziyallahu Ta'ala one time said that if somebody comes and tells me that everybody will go to hellfire, and when I write that, I put in parentheses except Nabiyeens and Anbiya and Rasul. Everybody goes to hell except one person, and I will have a hope that I am that person. If somebody tells me that everybody will go to hell except one person, then I will have a hope that I am that person. And if somebody tells me that everybody will go to Jannah, that except one person, and I'll be afraid that I am that person. That's what in Arabic called Bainul Khawf wal Raja, between hope and fear. So that is taqwa. You are hopeful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the same time, you are not so hopeful in where I came from. People say, oh, don't worry, we believe in Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will just take us, and then, we go for shortcuts. Oh, don't worry, I am going to do such and such salat. 2 rakat salat is equal to 70 years of worship. 70 years of salat. So that's it, I have done that. Those are Zalim. Same thing, get lost. You are lost that. Straight path. Sirat al-Mustaqim. So we are hopeful to Allah. This is the book that is hidayah, that is guidance for the people who are hopeful and also afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Lazina, those people, yu'minuna, they bring iman, bil ghaib, being in ghaib. Okay, this is also wrong that we say they bring iman in ghaib. Who is in ghaib? He says Allah. Allah is not ghaib. We are in ghaib. We are in ghaib. Human is in ghaib, not Allah. Allah is everywhere. So we don't know that. We bring iman in unknown. Okay. So that's what it means. Since we don't have, we will touch it. We will go in detail. Al-lazina yu'minuna bil ghaibi wa yuqimuna as-salata, and they establish prayer. It does not say they go and do prayers. Yuqimuna, aqama. Qad qamat as-salah, qad qamat as-salah, when we say that, because you establish. You go to masjid. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam one time said, and just we said in the beginning of that, he was Rauf and Rahim, and he said, sometimes I wish that when Aqamat is done, I put somebody else as an imam instead of me, and I go to the houses of those people that do salat in their homes, and I burn it. Can you imagine? This is not just a made-up hadith. This is from Sahihain. And from so many different Sahabis have said that. That I wish I put somebody else as the imam, and I go and burn those houses, the people that they do salah at their homes. So that's what Aqimuna salata wa mimma razaqnahum, and the risk we gave them. Yes, you could be a millionaire, and you think in your mind, I'm so smart. I made money, I invested in the right stocks, and I have the right degree, and I have the right job, and I have money with me, and I live in Evergreen area, and I'm very smart. No. Trust me, there are smarter people than you. This is Allah's fazl. Like, there's a little kid comes in, your son, your daughter, your nephew, and you bring some candy. 3 years, 4 years old kid, you give them candy. After he takes, he says, give me some. You're asking him. You really don't need that. You just wanted to try, It's your candy, you gave it to him, and then you ask from him, come on, give me a little bit. So, mimma razaqnahum, that we gave you that rizq, spend from that money in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to stop here. It's almost time. Isha. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين. We will continue this next week, inshallah, and we will go in more detail now that we have touched this, and you know. In the meanwhile, we have 1 week. If you have any questions, any comments, just bring them to me so I can, clear those things up next week, inshallah.